Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. and I went to go talk, and apparently I bumped something and turned the microphone off. Sad. It's always something, right? It's not a normal weekend if I don't screw it up once. So, hello, everybody. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. We're being broadcast live tonight, of course, on Truth Frequency Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, and also on YouTube. Hi, YouTube. Make sure you hit the thumbs up, the like, subscribe. You know the drill. I hope you know the drill. If not, there's all sorts of buttons you should be pushing. Yes. And no matter how you are hearing me, stop in and say hello in one of the chat rooms. Or you can always send me the email at wildepaisley@gmail.com. And that's WILDEPAISLEY @gmail.com. Let's see. If you want to support my radio habit, you can do so by doing the cash tag, and that's $the_spaces between U.S. currency or Bitcoin, if that's your poison. And then you can check out the website. That's www.paisleywild.com. And while you're checking out websites, you might as well check out iLife.com. iLife is the official sponsor for Truth Frequency Radio. iLife combines the best of the, parts. I don't say the best, but parts of the ayahuasca plant. It's the unleaded version, the non-psychoactive. And combined with some high-quality CBD to help cure what ails you. A lot of things are ailing people right now, so, we need all the help we can get. Do your research, iLife.com. All right, the call lines are open tonight. That is 213-233-3998. Or if you're across the pond in the UK, it is 44203-393-2871. So real quick, if you want to buy the book, you can do so. I can autograph the ones that you get from the website, or you can always go to Amazon. And still working on the second one, just because life. Did you know that pencils get hot when it's 120 degrees outside? Idaho is not used to 120 degrees. It is warm. Even in the studio, which is partially underground, it is warm. I do not like this game, Sam. I am. Not really a lover of the hot temperatures, which is why I live in North Idaho. We have maybe a week, grand total, of like 98 to 102. Sometimes 2 weeks total for the whole summer of really hot weather. Having it this hot this early in the year makes me a little nervous, I have to say, for the rest of the summer. Because if it's going to be this stinking hot now, what's it going to be like in August? Because, yeah, that's not okay for me here. Oh, what is this? There. So, if you guys are on YouTube and you're looking at the screen, this, Maggie M. Hi, Maggie. So, no, we are 15 to 20 degrees above normal right now. Often the lake is just now kind of getting warm enough to go really soaking and playing in the lake. But the river and the lake are kind of like bathwater. Well, not quite that warm, but they feel freaking fantastic. Although I have to tell you, the water straight from the well in Mini-Me's kiddie pool, I like that almost better. If you guys can see, maybe you can't see, I've got a little bit of a tan going on. I tried to burn myself pretty good, and then, it is, for those of you who are in North Idaho, Bonner County, the county I live in, has banned fireworks for the 4th of July. Why? It is tinder dry. It is so hot. We've had the hot wind and really high heat and the hot wind and not a lot of rain. And so everything's really, really dry. And there's some concern that the, fire's a real danger when you live in the trees. So, yeah. And if I'm buffering, sorry, y'all. I don't know why Let me turn that off. Maybe that'll help. I was going to show you all something, but maybe not. Oh, yeah. It's buffering really bad. Sorry, y'all. Let's see. So, yeah, it's hot. It's really hot. And it's frustrating that it is so hot. But, you know, the seasons are turning. The weather is changing. I'm one of those weird witches, I guess, weird pagans. Hey, Julia. You know, a lot of pagans are very, very environmentally excessively conscious, and they're pro-environment all over the place. And it's not that I'm not pro-environment. I want us to take care of our environment, but I am not a big believer in you know, climate change, you know, that kind of thing. It's climate, weather, it goes in cycles. It ebbs and it flows. And if you look at any of the histories, it could be just based on the ice core samples, for example, it gets hot and it gets cool and it gets hot and it gets cool. Things happen. Can we mitigate some of that? Yeah, we sure can. But I hope we are. But the Earth is its own entity, guys, and she will do what she needs to do what she has to do. So treat her well, please, 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 please. Tomorrow night, holy cow, it's the 3rd of July already. Will be the Dream Interpretation Show. So I think I had mentioned it was going to be the last Sunday or whatever, or the last Saturday. I don't remember. Tomorrow's the first Saturday of the month. Let's do it just first Saturday of the month. That way I don't forget. And so, yeah, if you've got dreams that you've got questions about, by all means, give me a shout. Send me the emails. Send me a message, whatever works. And we'll talk it out, see what we can figure out, see if your dreams are telling you things or not telling you things. Because, yes, that happens all over the time. Tonight's show, we are talking about old souls. You know, I don't know if you've heard of the phrase old soul, or if it's been applied to yourself or you've applied it to someone else. And the reason why I chose this particular topic, well, my friend Kat suggested it. And if you're on YouTube, the artwork, the cello handle with the butterflies is some of my friend Kat's artwork. Pretty fantastic. It's mixed media, the cello with the butterflies. She's really good, guys. Because Mini Me was just kind of doing her own thing, singing along, and I'm trying to load the audio, and I'm going to keep on working it for a little bit and see if I can figure out how to do this. Because technology is not always my friend. Sometimes it's just drives me insane. And I just thought you guys might appreciate, you know, hearing her random thoughts as she's just tuned out, and she is an old soul, and she's just spreading a message of hope. I feel, and she's pretty. I don't know. She's an interesting kid. So old souls, basically, just loose definition. It's a unique individual that generally isn't very superficial. They're deeper, sometimes more mature. There's a couple of different definitions. Curious, wise, calm. You pick up on things a little bit differently. Maybe you're an empath, and you know, it can be challenging as an old soul because you don't fit in necessarily with your age group, and I've seen that, actually. Precocious, as Lucky says. Yes, precocious. And sometimes old souls, as children, they just don't fit into, mainstream society and their age group. So they, as children, often feel a little bit ostracized or that they just don't fit in. And so in recharging, yes, that is sometimes different for them than it is for others. It's not necessarily an extrovert or introvert. It's more of an ambivert, people who can be both outgoing and peppy and go, and sometimes they just need a time out. They're going to sit and draw or read and meditate until they just tune out. So, often those who are old souls are those who have been incarnated multiple times, and they can sometimes, recall the other incarnations and connect with the incarnations or earlier incarnations. But often instead it's like the wisdom of previous lives, it sticks with them. And they're often not very material. Instead, they are more more spiritual, more emotional. I don't know. I don't know how else to explain it. You've probably met one. If you aren't one yourself, you've probably met one. So, in looking around and wanting to see, hey, how should I talk about this? Wow, it was like everybody and their pet cat have different ideas on what it means to be an old soul. So I figured I'm going to go through an article or two or three, and we shall see. It's like 17 unique signs that you're an old soul, 15 telltale signs that you're an old soul. It's like it really is. So we have to define the label that we're going to label people. And yeah, it's just the way people write. We got to have lists, right? Yeah, everybody's got a list. So, and these aren't necessarily your typical websites that I'm and the links will be in the show notes, of course. So, it, I don't know. I don't know. Exactly. So, Urban Dictionary right now defines that an old soul is a spiritual person who is wise beyond their years and people of strong emotional stability. Yes, nurturing, yes. Basically, someone who has a greater understanding of the world about them. Let's see. They contain knowledge from past lives and can apply it to the present without necessarily knowing that they are channeling that information from a previous life. And they can take that same information and build upon it in their present life. And they're not very superficial. They're deeper interest, deeper intuition, and they're not sheeple, generally. They want to do things their way, but not in an absolute, I'm going to do it my way kind of method. It's more like, hey, I want to do it this way, guys, so this is what I'm going to do. And they don't care if you don't want to do it their way. They're just going to do it that way anyways. They are not the kids that you necessarily want as a project partner when you're trying to do a history project. Trust me on this one. But they're not really into gossiping or, making a lot of money. They are more interested in life and living life rather than observing it, if you will. And so some signs that you might be an old soul or you might know someone is, first one here is you seek out some alone time. People with old souls need time to think and focus upon themselves. So Titan says, what if the zenith of spiritual enlightenment is being reincarnated as a cat? Yeah, you're funny, Titan. cats. I don't know if cats are old souls or just naughty ones. Yes, they are good problem solvers. So, seek out alone time. Introverts are often considered old souls because they spend a lot of time reading and journaling and doing things that make them feel alive instead of focusing on an outward sense of purpose. Live the way they want to, and they find peace on their own, by themselves. So maybe this is the, crazy Aunt Matilda who has cats and is happy with her cats. But she's, crazy Aunt Matilda is just kind of doing her own thing. She doesn't care what the rest of the family thinks. Old souls can also be quite picky about who they choose to spend their time with. They're not into superficial relationships. They tend to have, deeper relationships. So instead of having a lot of friends that are very superficial, instead they might have 1 or 2 or 3 really close friends that they do things with. Let's see, number 2 here is old souls find peace in knowledge, truth, and wisdom. So, old souls probably read a lot. If they have a question or develop a question that they are wanting the answer to, they're probably going to stop whatever they're doing, take that left turn, and go figure it out, and then come back. And they're very, very curious about the world around them. They're not they don't look at the world at face value. It's not two-dimensional, if you will. 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional. They have a desire to just know more about the world around them, and they ask questions. Oh my. And they might want to listen to stories about olden times, antique times in antiquity. What happened in the 1800s, the 1700s. They're interested in history and how things used to be. And it's not just they want answers to the questions. They're also interested in the journey and the adventure of getting those answers and finding the answers. And if I'm randomly clapping my hands and looking at things, I have one single mosquito that is just buzzing around me and driving me nuts. So, the old souls, generally, they're not satisfied with just a superficial answer. Like, why is the sky blue? Well, it's because it's blue. It's because there's oxygen in the air. Well, no, there's more to it than that, actually. And they want to know, why is the sky blue? So they're going to research it, they're going to look it up, and they'll find that, it's the refraction of dust in the sky, and it's actually not the color blue, it's the absence of the color blue. And it's just, they're trying to find out the real answers. So they're probably going to want to spend more time with books or libraries rather than with people who just aren't going to do anything with their lives. So they're probably not going to be your party crowd. I'm not saying your party crowd can't have an old soul in them, because they can, but generally speaking, they're going to want to do something else. They're not all about just party time. It's more like, what can I learn? And curiosity is a true virtue for an old soul. They just want to know more. They like the art of, they're very vested in the art of knowing, if you will. Old souls generally feel very tapped into their spirituality, their spiritual side. And often it's hard, as we are on the spiritual path of pagans and witches and people who aren't quite pagans or witches, or just trying to figure out who they are spiritually. It's not always comfortable acknowledging who you are spiritually. I know the first time I told someone I didn't know that yes, I was a pagan. Wow, I had a little bit of nausea. I had, the anxiety, the panic attack kind of thing going on, because saying yes, I am a pagan, yes, I am a witch out in public, 5-10 years ago, you weren't necessarily accepted by everybody. It wasn't as bad as, say, 20 years ago, but it's different now, I guess. I every so often I do mock on Harry Potter a little bit, and World of Warcraft or Magic the Gathering, and just the magic that you find online, the Dragonlance series, that kind of thing. But and those fictional things, I've really done a lot to allow the mainstream society accept magic and witchcraft and other beliefs as being okay. And so Hollywood, as complicated and as much of a disservice as they often do, they're actually, opened the door a little bit for people to accept us as pagans and witches. Kathy, I totally understand. Kathy says you're hitting all the parts of me. I'd much rather talk with a tree and love on my pets. Absolutely. Same here. I have been out of the house more in the last 3 days than I have in the last month, because I just don't have the urge to go anywhere. I'm kind of content being home, doing my own thing. I've got my studio, I've got my art, I've got my altar, I've got my crafts, I've got my book that I'm writing, actually a couple books. I've got mini-me, I've got friends that stop by every so often. I've got my chickens, my dog, my cat, it's why do I need more? And so for me, being a friend to other people, it can be quite hard because I have to remember to connect with people to, remember, oh, hey, this is what friends do. So for my friends that are listening, I love you and thank you for being my friends and for being very, very patient with me because, yeah, it's hard sometimes. But yeah, so spiritually, you often feel very, as we're allowing ourselves to be more open about our spirituality, you might spend more time getting to know you for you and your spiritual beliefs and being comfortable with your spiritual beliefs, rather than, saying, hey, yes, I'm going to follow the group. I'm going to be part of what everybody else is doing. You're not very superficial in your belief. It's probably deeper, and it probably goes deeper than you acknowledge to others around you. And you know that you're not the center of the universe. It's not all about you. You're grounded, but you're part of the universe. You're part of nature. You're part of the world, and you feel connected to it. But you need to remember to not hide it away. Allow it to be out in the world, and it's okay. So embrace that. Embrace who you are spiritually. Even though it can be hard, and I know it is. I resemble that remark. Mr. Don's in the house. Looks like he lost something.
My mind.
I resemble that too. So it is almost the first break, and remember, tomorrow night we are going to talk about dreams and dream interpretations. So I hope you've been writing down and journaling your dreams so we can talk about them. And if you have questions, again, remember to send me the email at wildepaisley@gmail.com. wildepaisley@gmail.com. Todd asks a question: is it possible to be a pagan without being a witch? The short answer is yes, but Todd, I'll come back to it after we come back from break because I want to touch on that just a little bit more. So, off to break, and then we will be back, and I will go into Todd's question. See you in a moment. my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. So just before break, Todd asked a question. He wanted to know, is it possible to be a pagan without being a witch? And
Yes.
the short answer is yes, absolutely, 100%. So paganism and pagans is basically anybody who's not part of the Abrahamic traditions, just in the long and short, because pagan is just a separate category. So that means that there's all sorts of different religions, beliefs, and faiths, if you will, fall into the whole paganism umbrella. But paganism, for me, is a path of spirituality. Witchcraft, or being a witch, is someone who works with magic often. And magic, to me, is energy. Energy is magic, magic is energy. And so if you are not actively doing spells or ritual work or leading ceremonies and such, then odds are pretty good you're not necessarily being an intentional witch. You might be using some energy separately, but it's not with the plan of being, a spell or a ritual.
You're a heathen.
Yeah, basically, yeah, you're a heathen. Well, no, heathen is specifically for Odin. Anyways, so there are Christian witches, which most people are like, what, where, how? Are you sure? Well, technically, anybody who leads a ritual of some sort and uses energy could be considered a witch. Well, how many of you have been to a New Age church where they do laying of hands or perhaps speaking in tongues and all this? So, and technically, pastors, priests, that the leaders of Christian churches are, in other words, witches. But because it's part of or within the Abrahamic traditions, they're labeled differently. And unfortunately, in our
It's not sterile enough.
yes, I don't know if anybody can hear Dawn, but Dawn says it's not sterile enough. Basically, it's more accepted to be a priest and or a pastor than it is to be a witch. And so, yeah, you can definitely be a witch without being a pagan. Yes, Christian witches happen. Or you could be a pagan and not be a witch. Or you could be a Christian and you could be a witch. So none of these terms are exclusive from one another. You could be all the above. And if that's who you are, then goody for you. Be you. You don't have to do magic. You don't have to do the rituals. You don't have to do all that stuff. I am a witch, and I do a lot of that stuff.
But I don't want to be satanic.
Satan is technically a Christian deity, in case you didn't hear Dawn. Yeah, because Satan is one of the Abrahamic tradition gods. And, yeah. So I don't follow Satan. Do I think he's out there? Yeah, probably. I think all the deities are out there. So technically, I'm considered pantheist.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. That was funny.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think they're all out there. And Lucky, yep, as Lucky says, or you can just be. Yeah, you do you, boo. You don't have to conform to anybody else's definitions of you. Just be you.
You know what I really like is in the Bible it says...
Your microphone's not on, I don't think.
Yeah, it is. Unless you didn't unmute me.
No, you're unmuted.
So, I like it when the Christians say, where the hell was I going with this? Oh, your faith is with God, not the church per se. But if you don't go to church, you don't have faith. What the hell does that mean? If my spirituality between me and my God, or gods, is personal unto myself, why the hell do they care if I go to church?
Well, so even within Christianity, like I've mentioned in the past, I tried really, really, really hard to be a good Christian and fit the definitions of Christianity within my family. And I had a little bit of a hard time with it because everybody wants you to believe this way or do this way or do that way. and you have to, talk to the priest or the pastor, because that's who you need to talk to in order to, have absolution of sins, and et cetera, et cetera. And for me, I feel that your relationship with any particular deity is unique to you. So I have one type of relationship with the deities I work with, and Dawn has something different. Lucky has something different. Todd, Julia, Dawn's on the air, and we're all a little different, right? So if we don't have the same relationship with one another, why would we all assume, or why would anybody assume that we would all have the same relationship with deity or the divine? We don't. We're all a little different, and it's okay. Now, are there some similarities? Yes, and that's why covens happen or congregations happen, is because we all are believing something a little similar.
That's called a cult.
Well, yes, Christianity is a cult too.
Yeah.
Cult, not occult.
Yes.
Yeah, and Abrahamic isn't sterile enough, Todd. Yeah, well, it's more accepted than anything else.
I love you, Titan.
What
It
did-
says I'd rather laugh with sinners than cry with saints. The sinners are much more fun.
Yes.
Anyhow, yeah. So yeah, I really like it when people tell me, oh well, you can't be a Christian, or you can't be spiritual because you have to go to church, or you have to do this or that because the Bible says to. That's not what the Bible says, you idiots. It's not what the Bible says. Yes, Lucky says something about, well, it's about money. Well, it is true now.
And power.
But why was tithing instituted? Why did they ask for tithes? And it's because it was our job as their parishioners, or our job as their
Flock.
followers, their flock, to help keep them in a house, keep them in food, keep them in clothes, so they could be our spiritual leaders.
Mm-hmm.
That's also the same thing with teachers. Teachers used to be brought to communities, and they were taken care of. They were given firewood. They were given. Their needs were met.
Mm-hmm.
Food. Donations, things like this. And that's how it used to be until government got right in the middle of all of it, and now we have Fed Ed. We have churches that have tax-free. They're 501.
Oh, 501c3.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they're what is it called?
Not-for-profit businesses.
Yes, which is all a bunch of falsehood.
Yeah, because they make money hand over fist, a lot of them.
They do,
Well, except for, no, Catholics in general, the Catholic groups, they've had to pay out a lot of money hand over fist
but
in
they're
recent
also
years.
They're also getting their tithes from millions and millions of
Mhm.
people across the world,
Mm-hmm.
and it all goes to buy, the Pope's red shoes.
Does he wear red shoes?
Oh boy,
I don't ever look at his feet.
don't look.
Okay.
Anyhow,
Ooh, are
but
they
there
gnarly?
used to be a good reason. Now it's all about money. Yes, that is true.
And
The
power.
charismatic preachers and everything like that, and really lost their way spiritually, in my opinion.
So Lucky in the chat room says, I don't quite agree. Tithes at the beginning were supposed to keep the temples and to feed the poor, but
Right.
preachers today don't talk about that unless
That's
they are
right.
just posturing.
Yep.
And that's something else. Also, is religion, when it was originally formed, if you will, before there was as much dogma as there is today, in its infancy, religion was really to help the people. The organized religion, feed the poor, take care of those who needed help, housing the sick, and all that stuff. And there's in addition to educating, often the monks would take on people to learn how to scribe and how to read and write and do math, and there's other bits and pieces to religion. Nowadays, it's changed. Religion is big business in the U.S. at least. It's not community oriented; it's business oriented, but they still get a lot of the nonprofit benefits, and it's vexing, very very vexing, because I'm not a 501c3, even though I work with a group of people and we have religious practices and such. We don't get that kind of a tax break. Now, I suppose we could apply for it, but I just don't see the need. Generally speaking, if we get together, it's a potluck and we all bring our own stuff. And if somebody needs help, we try to help one another. And
if you get pot, you're lucky.
Sure. But we're doing it in a form of camaraderie, community, support. We look at it as family, the people I do rituals with, they're extended family at least. If they've come into my home, they're family to me in some way, shape, or form. So, anyways, total, sidestep into spirituality and all sorts of stuff. But, sometimes we got to talk about it. And that's just...
Well, it's partially because I went on about it.
But
I have a tendency to natter.
But sometimes we have to put it out there and it has to be discussed. I don't think it needs to be driven home every day, but we as a group of people need to discuss stuff like this. And there's just not as much discussion. Lucky says the reason that the churches in America got so many tax breaks was because the churches funded shelters, orphanages, and hospitals. They don't anymore, and the state has taken over as business. And has business. So yes, there's that. But in some of that, the churches got a lot of power from the U.S. government because in the origin years of the U.S., the first people they had to be fixed and civilized. And so the orphanages, often, especially the religious-based orphanages, if you've been watching the news at all lately, Canada's got some... the big headlines about the deaths associated with a lot of those Christian or faith-based orphanages.
Specifically the missionary.
Yeah, the missionary orphanages. And now, did the missionaries, were most of them trying to do the right thing? Yes, I think so. Unfortunately, all it takes is one or two bad apples to really mess everything up. Because they can get away with it, because everybody's assuming, oh no, they're doing the right thing, they're taking care of people. Well, if you look away enough, you see all of the harm being done.
Well, that's like that lady that went down to, I think it was South Africa, very very famous lady, and all those girls went missing.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder why. What happened there?
Right.
We got nothing to say more about that. But it's just funny that, have they lost their way? Does it just take a couple bad apples? Well, depends how much money's wrapped up in it.
Well,
right. I give you that.
It depends on where in the hierarchy of power the bad apples are sitting.
That's true, too.
Because some people follow because they think they want to believe that the group as a whole is doing the right thing. And... unfortunately...
So now my question becomes, if the people at the top are doing the wrong thing, does that make everybody else wrong as well?
So, it depends. So, oddly, yes, I have read the Bible. And in Revelations it says, if you've altered, loosely translated, if you alter the Bible in any way, shape, or form, you are committing a sin. And if you teach others based on that alteration... you're condemning them to hell. And the Catholic Church straight up changed the Ten Commandments so that it would be okay for them to pray to the saints, because technically the saints are other gods and they're putting them before God. And if you stop and look at all of the Catholic teachings that are based on, hey, yes, you can do your Hail Marys and you can pray to St. John, or
and just rub that slate clean and you're good to go again. You're a good person.
The millions of people that are considered Catholic or follow Catholic teachings, if they've all been led astray because they are not following the Ten Commandments as they were originally written, then how many millions of people have the Catholic Church condemned to, hell? Um, so when you look at that, it's not only are the Catholic clergy as a whole then painted with a brush of leading people into hell. It's all, that's a pretty big deal. They are, in theory put into a more damning part of hell, or a more painful part of hell, because they have committed a greater atrocity. So I don't know. When I read Revelations, I have to tell you that was really, truly, I was 14 or 15, I think, when I was reading the Bible. That's when I really had to, I was started, I suppose, breaking away from Christianity and looking abroad, or looking at the broader spectrum of the divinity out there. Because I don't feel that, if you're looking at the whole Bible as a single document, how many times has it been edited and revised? Quite a few. So technically that means, all of Christianity is currently following the wrong Bible, and they're all going to hell?
It was edited in like
A long time ago.
the 16th century. It was like 1540, 1550, and that's when when King James
Mhm.
came to power. He was a Spaniard, and that's when the King James Bible came about, because he had people
Mhm.
re-edit the Bible so it made sense to him.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, so when you say, yes, there's a bunch of changes there, a bunch of things. And that's assuming we had the right Bible to begin with, because there's a lot of books that weren't put into it.
so anyhow, I'm sorry. We've
Yeah.
really seriously deviated off
Old souls. But, old souls, actually, yes and no, because old souls will take this entire topic and they will sit and have a conversation,
Right.
and it'll be a conversation or a debate. It won't be an argument. And that, I think, is what we've been having here, is a conversation, a discussion about, the cause and effect and the things like that. And it's not just, all Christians are bad, or all Catholics are bad, or all witches are Satanists, or anything like that. It's like, no, this is a discussion. And you can sway minds and help and change minds and educate people in a discussion, rather than in an argument. Titan says, I think that no matter who leads, if the followers are wise enough to leave everyone and everything better than they find them, it will not be counted against them, in my humble opinion. Yeah. So, if you're truly repentant of your sins according to Christianity, and you've truly asked for forgiveness of your sins, even the split second before death, then in theory, according to teachings, you will be forgiven of your sins and still be able to enter heaven. So, that's just the teaching, and that's the belief. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just not quite as focused on sin. I'm more interested in learning, which is why I'm a pagan. And yes, Maggie, there's a lot of old souls here. So, speaking of connected in the past, actually, number 4 on my list here is, you feel connected to the past. Maybe you look to your past and the lives of others to learn about the world. Maybe you feel a special connection with those that are older than you, and you not just seek the information, but you cherish the information and skills and knowledge that you learn from them over the years. History is probably pretty doggone fascinating, whether it's history of man, history of the earth, history of the cosmos, history of the divine, whatever it is. History in its completeness is fascinating. You love learning about, everything in history. And you ache to be part of an era, perhaps, where life was maybe simpler, or where people were more connected by life rather than technology. And that's the way you want to live your life today, too. Maybe you don't have a cell phone. Honestly, I think most everybody does these days. It's kind of weird to come across someone who does not have a cell phone, or someone who's not completely connected to it 24/7. Even though quite a few people don't believe it, I will put my phone down and forget where it is. And I'll have to ask Mini-Me because, you know what? I just have to because she knows where it is. But often those who are old souls will see a purpose in taking care of the elderly or caring for the elderly and to ensure that they understood their worth in today's world and in today's society. And for old souls, the older someone is, odds are the wiser they are and the more things they've experienced and the more you can learn from them. And maybe you feel closer and more connected to people who are older than you or even younger than you rather than people who are your own age. And you know what? I get it. For the longest time, I had a really hard time making friends my own age. Even now when I stop and think about it, most of my friends are either older or younger. My own age group, can't stand them. I love you all anyways, but it's hard for me to connect with someone who's my own age. I generally look for someone who's either more mature or more, interesting. Titan says, Paisley, would you agree that one has to really purpose oneself to find proper history? It's not easily found. Yes. We have a set of encyclopedias from the 70s, I think, or 60s. It's an old set of encyclopedias. And in reading them, what's written in those books is so different than what is in contemporary research and such. Because the storyline has changed, and it's frustrating to me because history is often rewritten to fit contemporary narratives, which is honestly one of the things that I find difficult with the cancel culture. The people who have such an issue with those shows, movies, books from times past that speak differently, believe differently, have different cultural behaviors. For instance, the movie Gone with the Wind is a movie about a time period when all of that stuff was accepted. The slavery, the big antebellum mansions, everything about it. It was accepted at that time. When we view history through our lens of today, and we assume that, they had to be as moral or as, sophisticated and as cultured as we are today, we lose some of that knowledge, some of that experience, because, that's part of who we are. That's part of our past. And to pretend it didn't happen or try to, cleanse it, sterilize it, whitewash it, however you want to put it, we're losing some of that foundation. I don't know if any of you have read To Kill a Mockingbird. I've read it probably 6 or 7 times. It's a fantastic book. Well written, interesting. It's a classic for a reason. But it's one of the most banned books in America because it is not appropriate for contemporary society, because there's a lot of things that happen in it that are just not okay according to society mores today. And it's frustrating because that is part of our past. And if we don't learn about our history and learn about our past, our true history, we will be forever doomed to repeat it. That is such a true statement. And I can see it in the things that are happening in our society today, that there's a lot of people out there who did not actually, get a passing grade in history class. They were passed
instructions on the Tide Pods, do not eat.
Well, yeah, there's that too. But yeah, they got the passing grade in history because nobody wanted to deal with them, or it was okay to just pass them. Because, there's a lot of information out there that just people don't accept. And
nowadays you can't fail a child and make them do the grade over again.
Which I think you should be able to. If they don't know the knowledge, don't have the knowledge, if they're not ready for that next grade, then why would we move them forward?
Oh, we'll just put them into special needs or special ed, and they'll be fine. They'll catch up.
Do you know why? Because special needs students often bring 2 to 3 or even 4 times the revenue to the school district that a standard student does. But that's a conversation for a different show. We're off to our top of the hour break, and we'll do Singing Bowl when we come back. So, yeah, interesting, lively chats today. We'll be right back, guys. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. Let's see. So, singing bowl? Singing bowl? Are you going to play your spoon, or are you going to use the mallet?
I've already used the spoon. We've already exited the portion of the show called Dawn Eats Ice Cream, so we're good to go.
All right, so singing bowl. I need to get you a real mallet for that, don't I? You need a drumstick.
Drumstick, no.
Dawn needs a chopstick.
It's kind of fitting that it's UFO shaped.
I know, right? It's a tingsha. Drama is doing well.
She's fat and happy.
She's fat and happy and no longer under my feet. She was sitting on my feet,
She
purring.
was just here a second ago.
It is warm, and having a fluffy, fat cat sit on your feet does not cool anything off. Goofy kitty. Drama's actually doing good. Yeah, she's fat, happy, spoiled. I'm not quite sure what to think of her two new roommates. So we have Yeti and Merlin are the new roommates. They're little gray and white kitties, and they're super duper cute. And yeah, they're small grays. And she wandered upstairs like, "Woo, doodle doot doot. I'm the cat. I'm gonna do my own thing." And she came across the little bite-sized
Morsels.
fluffiness, and yeah, she about had kittens herself. So she fluffed up and took off. Like, nope. These are contagious. I do not want them. So yeah. Kimber, on the other hand, just wants to play. Because yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so tonight talking about us old souls. I wonder if this will play. I couldn't get it to load into the computer, so. Okay. Sometimes Mini-Me cannot do that. So yeah, that's Mini-Me. Part of the reason why we think she's an old soul is she just breaks out in a song like that. She talks about everything's a rainbow, and then it's just a daydream, and but there's still hope, which I think is important as we move forward and we do the things, because often, Yeah, we have a hard time remembering the hope. You know, we're not trees. We're not stuck here. We can get up and move and do what we need to do to take care of ourselves, and we need to remember that.
Well,
So
there's actually a strain of palm trees that actually get up and move like 20 or 30 yards.
really,
Yeah, it's crazy.
I want video of that. The walking trees. I suppose they don't do it when people are watching, huh?
No, they you can watch them walk. They're in South America, and if they don't feel that they're getting enough light,
Mm-hmm.
like if the oaks are blocking the light and the maples are revolting, which is kind of a reference to a rush song, they actually grow roots above the ground,
Mm-hmm.
and the roots that are below the ground die, and then they kind of walk away. They find better light.
All right, so channel your inner palm tree and move. I'll be darned. So yeah, that was Mini Me channeling her old soul self. She didn't know I was recording her, and I missed like the first half of what she was singing. But yeah, she was talking about hope and rainbows, and it's just to figure things out, and the things that are going wrong are just a daydream. Which where she gets some of the words she uses, I don't know. Because, yeah, this kid's got a vocabulary, and yes, I'm the doting mom. Yes.
What did she say the other day? We're like, what? Pop?
I don't know. At least once a week, she drops something on us that's just like, where did you hear that? And how do you know what it means? So, yeah. Anyways, that's just Mini Me. Old souls. Goodness. She was the inspiration for the show tonight, so I figured I'd share that. So-called walking palm tree, Socratia ixoriza, is found in Latin America. Yeah, it walks around. It's got a weird root system. It's got several trunks and root systems, and so it's got little legs. It's a palm tree with little legs. Cool. I think that's awesome. Thank you, Lucky. All right. Moving on my list here. The next one is you spend time reflecting on your life. How often do we stop and think about ourselves?
Our previous choices,
Previous choices without dwelling on the previous choices and putting ourselves in the depressive spiral. But, who we are and how we get there. And how to improve our lives from the inside and out. So we can't always just look at others and we really shouldn't look at others and say, how can you make my life better? Well, if you're always relying on someone else to make your life better, man, are you going to be miserable, because they're out there to make their own lives better. You have to take responsibility for self. And so most old souls do take responsibility for self. And old souls are generally humble-ish, and they acknowledge that life is random and surprising, but is comforted by the fact that they can always choose how to react from what happens. And the ability to reflect on one's life is an absolute must. And so as an old soul, that it's up to you to make it through life in one piece, and you ensure that you take time every day to reflect on what has transpired in order to learn about how you can move forward in life. So honestly, and the article says, taking responsibility for your life is one of the most powerful attributes that you can possess. That is 100% true. If you do not take responsibility for your life, you're just going to kind of be, coasting along through life, bouncing from accident to accident, and never really owning that you are responsible for making changes. And there's a lot of stuff that happens around us at any given time, right? All the time. Often, we don't have any control what anybody else is doing. We really don't. The only thing we have true control of is how we react and respond to the things happening around us. So, and again, this is why we journal, because sometimes you just got to write down that Karen was such a Karen today, and I can't handle any more Karens because I am Karened out for the week. Sorry, Karen. But yes, sometimes you just got to write it down to let it out. And that's okay. But yes, how you react to something is how, it'll help you. I mean, if you are always just reacting with anger and frustration with everything, well, odds are pretty good that's all you're going to see in the world is anger and frustration. But if you learn how to accept things and kind of go with the flow just a little bit, drift in the wind, like Jessica says, your stress levels should go down, your anxiety should be less, you should be sleep better. Life shouldn't be as hard. Acknowledge that there's things you just don't have control of, and don't try to regain control of the things you don't need control of. Next on the list is you understand there is a bigger picture. You don't always know the how, but you do know the why of what you were doing. Most people get caught up in their own lives. They become disillusioned and short-sighted by what's in front of them, but not the old souls. They know whatever problems that might come up, there's always bigger problems out there. And knowing that there are other problems out there will center you. It makes you more awakened, if you will. And people are afraid when they don't know how to do something, but you trust that the world will show you the way if you are open to it, because you know that there is something bigger going on here. So yeah. Part of the reason why my personal philosophy of life is it's an adventure. I'm always learning something. It's not always a good experience I'm learning from, but I'm always learning. Sometimes it's a great experience, and I just want to enjoy it as much as possible, and that's okay. But no matter what happens, there are bigger problems out there. There are other things out there that I could be dealing with, and I'm okay with the ones I have. I don't need to take on more. The stuff I'm carrying and doing on my own, that's mine. I don't need to take on the stuff from the neighbors. I don't necessarily like my neighbors, all of them, but yeah, no, it's you do you, boo. Don't worry about everybody else. You're not stuck in an egg curtain. You're not an egg. Do your own thing. Number 7, you don't need a lot of things. You don't necessarily derive pleasure or meaning from your belongings. They're just tools to help you navigate this life, but you could be fine without them. Instead of collecting stuff, you might prefer to collect experiences instead. And materials are just that, material. That's it, material. They don't hold any meaning, so you're not inclined to acquire them. And when most people get caught up, like with a new smartphone or bigger TV, instead, old souls are maybe planning a camping trip, buying a new book, finding a new spot to meditate. They're, building self rather than, keeping up with the Joneses. Odds are pretty good. Old souls prefer the company of books and journals and reading and art and such to TV and hanging out with crowds of people. Fancy things are only distract you and keep you from focusing on what you really, really want in life.
Which is a Spice Girl song.
What you really, really want. So, yeah, it's... old souls generally are not the keeping up with the Joneses. Just straight up. It's not... the other day, we went to Costco. And as we were leaving, there was this gentleman checking out with this TV. It was, what, a 72-inch TV?
Oh, my God, that thing was huge. I mean, it was like the size of, oh, my God, the thing was just stupid huge.
It was the size of my car.
Oh, my God.
I drive an Equinox.
We wouldn't have been able to get into the car. That thing was freaking huge.
Oh.
I would have had to have wedged it in the bed of my truck.
Yeah.
That's how big it was.
But not flat. It would have been at an angle or having to stand up vertical because this thing was ginormous.
Good night, Kathy.
Night, Kathy. Thanks for stopping in. Do I like a big TV? Sure. Do you know why? I wear glasses. I'm kind of blind. And I like to take them off because they give me a headache sometimes. But do I need an 8-foot TV?
That thing was literally bigger than the bed of my truck.
Yeah. Yes. Why? Other than like having a big old truck that's souped up with lifts and all that shit, are you compensating for something there, sir? I mean, geez.
Well, it is a pandemic.
Okay. I don't think there's a wall big enough in this house for a TV that size. It would have to be mounted on the ceiling to get enough flat space.
I have like so many things going through my head that are just totally inappropriate to say.
Dawn tends to be inappropriate. It's the beard. What's your shirt say tonight?
Oh, I heard what you do for a Klondike bar.
And then it says, call me.
Call me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is kind of apropos for that particular
Yeah.
conversation. But back to the...
Back to the old souls. So yeah, fancy things aren't necessary. Do I have a lot of stuff? Yes, I have a lot of stuff. Could I get rid of all the stuff if I had to? Yes, I'd probably be kicking and screaming the entire time. But I could.
MCAT could have delivered it. Right along with the 40,000 gallons of beer he rolls around.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Party's here.
You know, how many people does it take to pick up a TV that size?
Well, he couldn't do it because he had to have people help him out the door with it.
Well, yes, that's because there's so much of him. His arms are like this. He was a T-Rex.
Scratch my back, would you?
Right?
Oh my God, don't do that.
But seriously, it was just...
That TV was a wall.
Yeah, 4 of those TVs, you'd have a room. All you need is a surround sound and you'd be just living in your own life. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, next. Old souls don't need 9-foot TVs. So number 8, maybe you didn't have a lot of friends as a kid. Maybe you don't have a lot of friends now. And you know what? Often old souls feel like they're the odd one out, whether it's in school or at work or in social situations. Sometimes it's because you're just more mature than the people you're around. And that's okay. You're in a different place. Old souls generally like different music, different books, different activities. Probably not the partiers and going out to drink every weekend or night or whatever. And I mean, personally, I wasn't really into drinking in high school. I did occasionally because sure, but the people I knew, even though they had a lot of money, they often bought, the piss beer. And I'm
Old souls carry around things like this.
swords. Mm-hmm. Old souls are more into the history of the sword than they are into drinking piss beer. So, maybe, or in order to get along with other people, maybe old souls in school and such have to pretend to like certain things to fit in.
Like people.
Like people, yes. And now that as you age, you're like, oh, I don't have to do that anymore. I could stay home. Yes, work from home in customer service. And the things you might have thought as bad or a bad thing when you were younger because it made you stick out and not fit in, is probably something you really, really like about yourself now. I know that I spent a lot of time alone when I was a kid. And when I think about it, I was really okay with it. And today, I'm still pretty okay with it. I don't...
Is it bad that Titan knows the name of my acme?
No, because you talk about it every so often. It's a BS cutter. Yep. Mm-hmm. Old souls might feel more mature and wiser than others. And no matter how old you get, old souls often feel a little out of place amongst people in general because people are not where you get your energy from. You get that energy either from inside yourself or from, quiet places. So in the past, maybe you as the old soul might get frustrated by the inability to relate to people your age. Me. However, maybe you embrace it now. I have to tell you, I have friends now that I wouldn't have expected to have be my friends years ago.
You think? Like Chicken Girl?
Emu Girl, get it right.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's right. She's got an emu now.
Emu rode in the back of the car.
Not in the back of my car.
In a crate.
What? That wasn't the plan that I heard of.
No, I thought it was a chicken, but ended up being a chicken and an emu. If I had had $150, there would have been more than one in there. Because I want an emu.
They taste good.
Their feathers are awesome.
Yes, okay, yes. They'd be good for doing things.
Yeah. Anyways, being serious, you see, this is me being all excited about something not normal.
Not okay either.
It was fun.
Great.
Don's a wise guy. Does that count? Jess. Sure. The ability to, find your energy from within means that often you feel at peace, even if you are in a crowd, and you feel like you're a part of the bigger plan, if you will. There's nothing wrong with you. You're okay with you. You're just experiencing life differently than other people. And you know what? It's okay. The article says that's what makes you special. But no, it just makes you you. And I think you're all special, but it doesn't. Just be you. Accept you. Be you. Number 10 on my list here is old souls feel emotions strongly, and they understand emotions, not just their own, but other people's emotions. And yes, it can be hard to be both passionate and sensitive, but you need to understand that the ability to understand emotions makes you pretty doggone incredible, because a lot of us just kind of bump through life not knowing what emotions are, other than those annoying things that make us do things we don't really need to do. Yes, Maggie, I think Don has eaten emu. Oh dear.
I can't spell.
Yeah, no. Llama was actually pretty good.
Llama's good.
With emotions,
Not those emo llamas. They're too greasy.
alpacas.
Yeah. Tastes like Tide.
You're so weird. Old souls often understand that there's something profound in emotional agility. Emotions don't make you weak, and that's something that society today has taught a lot of us, that emotions make us weak. But they don't. They make us stronger. And our ability to recognize the emotions and to let them in and
process them,
process
take
them
care of them
and accept them, exactly, makes us happier and more well-adjusted. And often we become advisors to those around us. And we help people understand it's okay to feel things.
Even if you want to put your foot in their ass every 5 minutes.
Yes. We've all met those people. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
and
old souls are self-reliant. Yes,
very much so. And that ability to be agile within our emotions, to accept the emotions, and to accept the emotions of others, it builds people up rather than tears them down. And that ability to allow others to feel, because the number of people that I've counseled that are shocked that it's okay to just feel a certain way about something, it's like, why not? Why not feel feel bad about that? Okay, it's normal. You got a ticket. Okay, feel bad about it.
Feel bad about it, but realize you probably deserve it.
Right? Don't speed next time.
Just, hey, an old soul also accepts responsibility for oneself.
Exactly. Do you get so emotional like Whitney Houston?
That song.
Okay. That's a message to Don. I don't know if he gets that emotional or not. So, in a broken and disconnected world, I got to tell you, old souls are
Every time I think of you.
needed more than ever. That being mindful is huge. If you're mindful of self and you can help others be mindful of themselves, and maybe sometimes explain emotions to those who are emotionally stunted is a good word.
Emotionally lacking.
Lacking, because shortchanged was the only thing coming up that was even halfway PC. Hey, guess what? It's a break time. Did you know that?
Yes, all the time.
Yeah, it's break right now. So.
Yes, it's break time. Great.
We'll be right back.
No hype, no fear. We are EFR, your protection from deception.
Hello, my lovelies. This is
Kali, Inanna, Isis, Astarte, Diana, Hecate, Demeter, Kali, Inanna, Isis, Astarte, Diana, Hecate, Demeter, Kali, Inanna, Isis, Astarte, Diana, Hecate, Demeter, Kali, Inanna.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between, being joined tonight by Mr. Longbeard. And just a reminder, tomorrow night we are talking about dreams. So if you want to get some dream interpretation, by all means, check in. And I can do that by chat room or calling in or send me the email at wildepaisley@gmail.com. That's WILDEPAISLEY@gmail.com. So let's see. Chat room. Let's see. Yes. Accountability. Maggie says accountability. Yes. Accountability is a bad word to some people, though. And yes, I do help counseling people by accident sometimes. Just in the course of a conversation, and people say, "Oh, hey, I apparently really needed to hear what you had to say today." I'm like, "Oh, cool." And occasionally I'll do tarot readings for people. If you go to the website, there's a link. You can send me your stuff. There's a small fee. It's basically it's a 4-card tarot reading, a 1-card draw, and then 3 explanation cards is what I generally do. Titan says old souls get confused with not being affectionate. Doesn't mean we don't love just as strongly. Just means we don't require a lot of outside stimulation. So yeah,
Yes.
often old souls are just
Comfortable.
yeah, they're comfortable. They care. They just don't have to use big signs for it. So
I'd like to comment on what Elaine said. She said, my very Christian friend Lisa tried not to grieve when her mother passed because she went to heaven. Not healthy. That's very true. Told her it's okay to feel sad and miss them. Also very true. It doesn't say in the Bible, don't grieve. It says, don't grieve for her soul. If she's pious, she will go to heaven. You can grieve missing the physical person that was part of your life for a long time. But don't grieve for her soul. That's what that means. It didn't say don't grieve. It said don't grieve for her soul or their soul. If they're pious, they will go to heaven.
Yeah, it is 100% normal to grieve the loss of someone, either because of death or a change of relationships or you move or something and you mourn the loss of your friends because you're not next door anymore. That's all normal. And grief is normal.
I'm sorry, Elaine. How often do we have to come back? I'm getting tired. Here's the trick about that. If you do believe in reincarnation or the well of souls or whatever that may be that keeps sending us silly folks back, it's because we didn't learn the lesson the first time. That's my point. That's my take on it. Because there are, our souls, our energy is sent here to learn to how to be a person, a human, a being of this type. And if you don't get the lesson the first time, you get to do it again. Kind of like when they used to hold people back in grade school. Yeah, they don't do that anymore though. But that's what I believe. I believe that if we don't lose, Judge and Cinda,
Sindel.
Sindel, yes, they mentioned that before on the show when they were here. That we need to go and learn that lesson, or it wasn't you weren't supposed to learn that lesson. You learned something else, but the soul contract, the energy soul contract. So it's just because we didn't get it right the first time, or it's not so much that it's we have another lesson to learn. You got to go to school for the soul, if you will.
Or maybe you still have to teach the lesson you learned.
True, good point. You may be here as a teacher. Yes, absolutely.
And that can be often just as frustrating as the one having to learn. So yeah.
Yeah. I may be the one getting the foot in the ass every 5 minutes.
Yes, some lessons are harder than others. All right, so next on my list here is wise beyond your years. So if you are an old soul, it's likely that you have been referred to as more mature than your friends, even from a young age. You might have always felt like you're a bit older, not just physically, but mentally. Perhaps you didn't always get along with people your own age because you were seeing things from a different perspective. And how they see things may seem short-sighted to you. It can even put you off when people cannot look at the bigger picture. It can be difficult when you are young and you don't understand why you're different, but as you age, it becomes more clear that you are meant to be this way, and being an old soul is a gift. not a curse, even though sometimes it might feel like it because you just don't fit in and you feel isolated. And, you might understand emotions, but sometimes they're really heavy anyways. And that's okay. The next on my list is advice flows like water. Maybe people come to you for advice a lot. Maybe you're asked about everything big or small. It's like, hey, should I wear these socks today? Or, hey, should I date this guy? Or, hey, should I take this career? There's a whole variety of questions that you might get asked. And what makes you an old soul is that you take the time to talk to people when they ask questions. Hey, Pharmacy and Kai. Carlton and Kai. Can't really say that fast. I just stutter.
Well, I was going to type it in, hey, but hey, Farm. Hey, Kai. Congratulations if I didn't mention it before. Thank you, by the way. So there you go.
All right. So old souls often know how to listen for the things that are not said. You can look deeper into things, and this enables you to see things that other people don't, or make connections that other people don't. And your ability to dig deeper is what makes you a valuable confidant. Old souls realize that people are asking for your help because they trust you, so you take the conversation seriously. And you give a lot of yourself, and you rarely expect anything in return. But you need to remember, old souls giving out advice, your time is valuable. Be careful where you invest it. Because sometimes you need to spend more time investing in self than investing in others. Next, home is where the heart is. People of old souls are often found at home. It's where they feel safe and secure. It's where they're happiest. People of old souls don't have to look far outside themselves to find out what really makes them happy. And if you find yourself bound to home as much as possible, then you're definitely an old soul. There's nothing more restful than being in your favorite couch, tucked under a blanket, simply enjoying the comforts of the place that you made for yourself. If you're an old soul, you're pretty low maintenance and can happily occupy your own time by learning about the things that interest you, reading, writing, or resting your mind for the next time someone needs your wisdom. Yeah, you don't have to go and do the things all the time. You're happy just staying at home doing your own thing.
Maggie says, it was so weird growing up. Originally, I thought it said I was so weird growing up. Do you know what's weird? It's weird that just offhand knowing that 1 gallon of diesel can push a train 500 miles. It's one of those things. I don't know. Don't explain it.
That's a weird random factoid that you have, Mr. Don.
And I told that to one of the owners of the hotel.
Yeah.
He's like, look it up, dude. It's true. Anyhow. But
random things that Don knows. That could be a show all by itself.
Yeah, it could. But the problem is I can't remember. They have to be brought up. But anyhow.
Yep. So next on the list is you need to rejuvenate your energy. As an old soul, you might get tired around people quite easily. Some old souls would identify as introverts, but it's more than that. If you're an old soul, you feel like both your body, mind, and your soul need rest. This is probably why you love taking breaks from everything and everyone. From time to time, old souls like going somewhere different where no one knows you, and you like to rejuvenate your energy with the unknown or with nature. Elaine says nesting. Yes. For you, this might be traveling to other countries or taking camping trips into the wild, or maybe a day at home doing nothing. Old souls know how to rejuvenate when time comes, and it usually involves being alone. It's not that you're antisocial or don't want to see people, but you draw much of your own energy from your own company and need to refresh that way as well. You sometimes just don't want to people. I don't want to do the people things. I just want to stay in bed, ignore everybody. But responsibilities exist, and mini-me needs to eat. So, nope, got to go do the things. But yeah, being able to sit back and rejuvenate your energy, that's really important to figure out how that is. Because yes, extroverts do like crowds. Introverts generally don't. And finding where it is you're going to get your energy from to recover and be able to do what you need to do, that's really important. Sometimes it's the library, sometimes it's the park, sometimes it's going to the coffee shop and listening to people talk, which is educational by itself. Coffee shops these days are saying all sorts of interesting things.
Lane says old souls have great BS speeders.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Old souls tend to look inside instead of outside to see what's important. So people with old souls don't require outside validation for their own worth or value. A lot of people turn to others, the internet, their jobs, or another outside source of validation to make meaning in their lives. But as an old soul, you see the value of your experience and what you bring to the table, so there's no need to exhaust your efforts in those areas. Oh, that's awesome, Maggie. Maggie says she kissed a tree the first time that she got out into nature after lockdown. Totally understand. It's like, riding with someone who's learning how to drive. You want to just hug the ground when you get out of the car.
It's amazing. That it amazes me when people say things like that, because like you walk out the door and there's a tree 15 feet away that's 50 feet high. Here, It's like you can't just go out and kiss a tree, give it a hug. It amazes me because I'm originally from a concrete jungle. I'm from Seattle, where there's lots of trees, just not anywhere near where I live. But it's so changed. So it's just weird when people say something like that. You can't just walk outside your door. It's just odd.
I know, right?
So.
Titan says that's me. That's why I bail out from everything from time to time. Doesn't mean I'm not thinking of y'all. I just got to get away. And sometimes you do. You just got to get away.
Yeah.
Part of knowing how to take responsibility is to focus on the inside things, your journey, your needs, improving your own life. And you don't waste time on things that you don't have control of. So many people never feel completed because they expect others to provide that peace to them.
Right.
Old souls are able to be that completion piece for themselves. And it's nice to have others in your life, but it's not necessary. And it's often not in the same skill or level that other people require in relationships. Doesn't matter if they're friends or romantic or work or... most people have had that one relationship where someone just was excessively needy. Or maybe you were the needy one, I don't know. But we've had that that relationship where someone just needed more than the other person. And... yeah, it's hard. It's frustrating. And it's, yeah,
It's gooey.
gooey, icky. It's like stepping on used bubble gum
I like maple syrup.
out in the parking lot or something. It's like it's stuck to the bottom of your shoe. You're like, ugh. It's gross. Old souls often have memories that ebb and flow. So as an old soul, you may feel like your memories are fluid, and sometimes they aren't always clear whether they are recent or relevant to you. When you're open to possibilities, you realize that things are likely not how they seem. People with old souls can tap into other sources of information sometimes, and while it sounds a little voodoo-esque, or I would say more witchy-esque, it could be that those out-of-place memories are just from your previous life or lives. Memories coming and going, feeling like you've been here before, and knowing what's coming next are all signs that you are, in fact, an old soul.
Akashic Records.
Yep, Akashic Records. You're more in tune with them. I think everybody has, lived more than one life, and there are going to be times that you're going to have different lessons that'll carry over from one life to the next. Old souls, though, tap into those lessons more readily and can translate that information to present day. Because knowing how far a train will go on a gallon of gas isn't as relevant today necessarily as it may have been 100 years ago when a lot more was shipped via train and you needed to know how much diesel you needed, to get from point A to point B, with your load and cost and all that stuff. So, yeah. Last one on the list here is you feel the weight of your ancestors. So being an old soul often means feeling the weight of those who have come before you. Old souls are in touch with their prior experiences as well as those of their ancestors who have been through life prior. They feel the weight of their ancestors' memories and their shared DNA, genome, and epigenome. This can be a powerful tool to tap into, the shared memories and experience of your lineage. However, sometimes it can be too powerful and your soul can suffer under the weight of expectations. It can become critical for old souls to learn how to divest their ancestors' expectations from their own true self in order to activate their own personal power. And it's not necessarily ancestors deceased, it's just ancestors. Because your family, your parents, your grandparents, your aunts and uncles, it's like the monkey's paw is combing Don's beard. It's often those expectations of our family and our ancestors, it's heavy. There is a thought that there is an ancestral karmic debt. So maybe your ancestors did something and there's a belief that you owe a karmic debt to make up for whatever your ancestors did. I disagree with that one personally. I think it's just you have your own karmic debt. You're here to learn what you need to learn. Now, if there is any kind of karmic debt, it's your own, the things you might have screwed up, not necessarily your family or your lineage. But that's my own personal belief. I know not everybody believes that way. The ancestor thing is pretty heavy. Yeah,
Especially if you look at it from a Christian perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Or maybe you've been, my family's been in the military for, it's 9 generations. We stop and think about it in 9 generations.
That's a lot of dead people.
Yeah, that's a lot of dead people. And there's been a lot of wars. And how many war crimes were there? And,
It's not your job to carry that.
Exactly. As I've mentioned in the past, or talked about in the past, only carry your baggage. Don't carry the baggage of others. And, is there things that maybe as a family or a group, your shared DNA you might need to atone for? It'd have to be a pretty big thing. And most of us don't have that. So, stop and think about it. Genghis Khan was a huge conqueror. He was really good at conquering things. He was also not afraid to spread his seed far and wide, far and wider than anybody else. So technically, there's a whole lot of people out there that are genetically related to Genghis Khan. Are they responsible for the karmic debt of Genghis Khan? Oh, no. Why would they? I mean, it's not their fault that his Peter Piper pecked a lot of pickled peppers out there. He was a busy boy and wasn't afraid to conquer every which way he could. So, that's not his descendants' baggage to deal with. That was, that's his karmic baggage. So if he is reincarnated into someone else, then he is the one who has to deal with that, not his descendants. So yeah, deal with your own baggage. Don't carry somebody else's. And often, our parents are really responsible for a lot of that because they might live vicariously through us. I mean, how often do we see moms or dads out there with son or daughter trying to son is in Little League and he's going to be the star pitcher and this and that, and he's being pushed, or soccer, or daughter is in drama or pageants or ice skating, piano, etc., etc., etc.
Things you wanted to do as a kid but didn't.
I like it, Titan. The things that you weren't able to do. I mean, we've all, generally speaking, as parents, we want our kids to have better better childhoods than we did.
Right.
That's pretty normal.
But the problem there is when we force that on them,
Mhm.
what we wanted to do,
Exactly.
instead of letting them develop the things they want to do and then taking the joy in that,
Mhm.
instead of there's no crying in baseball. Well, there isn't, but that's beside the point. The point is that sometimes they're crying because they really don't want to do it. It's not what they want to do, and you're forcing them to do it,
Mhm.
and you're living vicariously through them in that sense. But I'd rather take joy in what the kids like to do, and I can actually see them enjoying it,
Mhm.
and then just live with the idea that I was able to provide them the joy, the opportunity to have that joy.
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
forcing them through something.
So growing up, I didn't have a lot of opportunities to do a lot of the extracurricular activities that other kids my age were able to do. Does that mean I want my children to participate in all those things? No. What I want them to have is the opportunity or the ability to choose to do those things, which is something else entirely. It's something else entirely. The potential or the possibility, I think, is more important than forcing, mini-me to be the drama. No, not drama. It's when they have discussions and they argue back and forth. Debate team captain, and that's not what I want her to be, or the mathlete, pro, etc. So it's more I want her to be the best her that she can be without, trying to be the me that I wanted to be. Because honestly, if I look back, thinking about my childhood, was it an adventure? Yes, very much the adventure. But I learned a lot, and I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't had that adventure. So I kind of accept, my childhood as it was. There's some things pretty messed up about it, but for the most part, I turned out okay. So my childhood must not have been that bad. Well, no, not necessarily. It's more I've accepted the lessons that I learned.
Right.
And it's not on me to try to force those same lessons onto Mini-Me, because you know what? She has other lessons she needs to learn. Something else entirely. And it's my job just to make sure she has the support to learn those lessons without her spending a lot of time in the naughty chair or the corner, or grounded to her room, or because she's only 7, but sometimes I think she wants to be 17. That girl's sassy. So don't try to live vicariously through your kids, or force your kids to have the life that you think you wanted back then.
You wanted to have.
Right.
Things that you feel you missed out
Mhm.
on. Just give them the opportunity to have things in their life
Mhm.
that they will enjoy.
So, our younger son, I try to make sure he had the possibility to participate in sports, if that's what he wanted. But you know what? He really didn't want to do any of them. He wanted to do other things, so I tried to support him in those other things. Older boy was really into speed skating there for a while. Tried to encourage him into speed skating if that was what he wanted to do. As he got older, it wasn't quite as interesting to him. So, find what your kids want and then encourage them in what they want to do, as long as it's, legal and not harmful to others. Titan says it's obvious that old souls are very comfortable around each other. We just don't have enough compatibility throughout day-to-day life. Well, no, there's compatibility. It's just sometimes harder. So, lucky. So, we're just about... Lucky made a funny comment that you had to be in chat to hear or read. So yeah, just be the best you can be. If you're an old soul, own it and accept yourself for who you are. So tomorrow night we are talking about dreams and interpreting dreams. So don't be afraid to check in. It'll be 9 p.m. Pacific time, and I'll be glad to do the best I can to help you out. Other than that, we'll see you tomorrow night. So merry meet and merry part and merry meet again. And we'll see you next time,
I'll
guys.
see you next week. Bye.
Bye.